Hi students, welcome to NIRS Education. So in the previous session we have finished the lesson crop production and management. So now let's see the highlights points what we have learnt in the crop production and management lesson. So firstly we have learned that the meaning of the crop, that is the plants of the same group are grown and cultivated at a same place in the large quantity, that is called the crop. For example, the wheat is the one example which we are going to grow in the field in the large quantity, not in one or two plants. So if we grow the plants in the large quantity, that is considered as the crop. So for the production of the crop, we have to do some agricultural practices that will give us a proper kind of the yield that should provide us the better profit. So those agricultural practices include the preparation of soil, sowing, adding manure and fertilizers, irrigation, protecting from weeds, harvesting and storage. So the production of these crops depends on the different seasons or the weather conditions. So depending on the weather conditions and seasons, we have divided the crops into two groups, that is the Kharif crops and Rabi crops. So the Kharif crops are the crops which are sown in the rainy season are called the Kharif crops. For example, paddy, maize, soybean, groundnut, etc. And the Rabi crops are the crops which are grown in the winter season are called the Rabi crops. So for example, the wheat, gram, pea, mustard and etc. So to get a better quality and quantity of the yield, we have to follow these 7 different types of the agricultural practices. The preparation of soil is the first one. So this is the very basic and a very important task, so that we have to go with a proper method. So in the preparation of soil, we use many kind of the tools, and we use the tractor as well as the bulls in the preparation of soil for the tilling and or plowing purpose. So the loosening of the soil and turning of the soil is called the tilling process. So the process of loosening and turning of the soil is called the tilling or plowing. So that we have used many kinds of the equipments, that is called the plow, and bulls are going to be used for the moment of this plow, as well as nowadays we are going to use the tractors. So along with the plow, we use the hoe for the loosening of the soil. And the cultivator is the one more kind of the agricultural implement that we nowadays we are going to use. So that is called the cultivator. The use of cultivator saves the labor as well as the time. So next is the sowing process. Sowing is the most important task for the production of the crop, because whatever the kind of the seeds we use, so that should be very healthy. So before sowing the seeds, we have to check the quality of the seeds. So for the purpose of the sowing, some traditional methods are there, and also nowadays modern methods like the seed drills are also going to be used. So to maintain the quality of the soil is also the very important task. So to maintain the quality, we have to add the manure and fertilizers to the soil. So manure is the organic substance that will provide the better health to the soil, and it will maintain the fertility of the soil. and the fertilizers are the chemicals which are having the proper kind of the nutrients. And we have seen the differences between the manure and fertilizers, that fertilizers are inorganic salts. These are the organic compounds made by the decomposition of cattle dung and human waste and plant residues. So fertilizers are prepared in the factories, but manure is prepared in the fields. Fertilizer does not provide any humus to the soil, but manure provides humus to the soil. Fertilizers are rich in only some nutrients like nitrogen, phosphate and potassium. But manure is relatively less rich in plant, but it contains all the kinds of the nutrients. So there are many advantages of this manure. So that is, the organic manure is considered better than the fertilizers because it enhances the water holding capacity of the soil. It makes the soil porous, due to which exchange of gases will become very easy. It increases the number of friendly microbes to the soil. It improves the texture of the soil also. So the next process is the irrigation, that is the supply of water to the soil in the different intervals. So there are so many sources are there for the purpose of the irrigation. So we provide the water in the traditional methods like moat, a chain pump or dekeli, or it may be the rahat. But nowadays we have implemented the methods like the sprinkler system and the drip irrigation methods. So the next one is protection from the weeds. So the weeds are the undesirable plants which grow with the crops. So the removal of this weeds is very important. So removing of the weeds is called a weeding process. So we use many chemicals to control the weeds, as well as by the manual also we are going to separate these things from the crops. And the last is the harvesting. It is the crop harvesting is the crop harvesting of a crop is a very important task, because in the last season of the last days of the season, we are going to cut the crops, grown crops, and we will pull out or cut close to the ground, and we will separate the grains from the chaff by the different methods. So the separation of the grass and separation of the chaff and grains is called threshing. So the thresher or combiner machine that we are going to use nowadays for the separation of these things. But those who have very less land, they will use the method of winnowing to separate the chaff and grains. And in these conditions, the farmers are very happy to get the crops, and they are very happy to enjoy. They are going to enjoy these days after very hard work. And the last is the storage. Storage is the very important. Production is not only the important, storage also going to get that much of importance, because the fresh crops has more moisture. If the freshly harvested grains are stored without drying, so they will spoil by the attack of the organisms, or losing their they will lose their germination capacity. So like this, we have to store the things in the silos for grains, and normally we are going to store these things in the jute bags, so that will provide the air, and it is going to save the grains from the spoiling. And not only the food is coming from the plants, and human beings are depending on the animals also for the food items. For the different purposes, we utilize these animals for the purpose of meat, for the purpose of egg, for the purpose of milk, and so many for the purpose of honey. So they are also very helpful for the human beings. So the rearing of these animals for the profit of human beings is called animal husbandry. So this much of the content we have already discussed in detail from the last few sessions. So this is the highlight session. If you have any doubts in this lesson, you can send the questions to my WhatsApp number. Thank you and have a nice day.